Hi everyone, this is Melissa Stinson for Two Peas in a Bucket, and I'm here to bring you this week's dose of Project Life inspiration with the Garden Girls. I'm going to start off with something that I promised a couple of months ago, and that's that now that these American Crafts Design A style page protectors are restocked, I'm going to compare them to the Becky Higgins and the Echo Park page protectors that I've been using. So I'm going to set the Echo Park off to the side for just a minute and take a look at the Becky Higgins Design A versus American Crafts. I'm going to use a piece of 3x4 cardstock. It's just a plain piece of white paper that I trimmed down to size. And if you look at the American Crafts page protector on the bottom there, you can see that it's actually slightly longer than the Becky Higgins page protector. And I'd hoped that meant that the pockets would be bigger, but it's only because the spine of those pages is slightly wider. So let's test this 3x4 card in each pocket. We did this in the Becky Higgins, I think in January, February's lesson. But it fits fine in the first pocket. The second one is a really tight fit. It actually bows a bit going in. And then it fits in the third and the fourth pocket. If I go to the American Crafts page protector, when I try the first pocket, you can see that it just doesn't fit at all. I need to trim a little bit off this card to get it to fit in. But the other pockets it doesn't seem to have a problem with, so let's go in pocket 2, pocket 3, and 4. 4 is a bit of a tight fit, but it does go in. If I were putting this in my album, I probably would shave a hair off of that card just to keep it from bowing the page protector. And a quick recap of Echo Park. We fit fine in 1, in 2. 2's a little tight, but not bad. In 3, which is also slightly tight, but again, not unmanageable. And then right in on 4. So these Echo Park page protectors are still by far my favorite. So let's get to work on this week's layout. I'll go over the supplies in more depth later, but I'm looking at Doodlebug's Take Note collection, Road Trip from Chic tags, and then this whole pile of embellishments because I tend to pull, like I said in previous lessons, way more supplies than I'll actually use. And most importantly, Justin's organic peanut butter cups. I have to have these when I'm making Project Life pages or scrapbooking in general, and I'm so happy that Target actually carries them now. And I'm going to need them because this layout may be a little bit stressful to put together. I'm going to address a question that was on the forum in mid-March about what to do when you have photos that maybe aren't so cohesive and don't follow the same theme. Do you go with a themed approach in each pocket, or do you try to make the colors work across the entire layout? My personal preference is to make the colors work across the entire page, and especially for a layout like this where, as you'll see as I'm putting the photos out, half of the week was in the Caribbean on vacation, and then we came back home to a house that was decorated for Christmas. So this layout would look, I think, a little bit odd if I tried to do Christmas on one side and, palm trees and vacation on the other. So I'm going to try to pull colors that are common to all of these photos out. And right now I'm just doing what I normally do, how I start every Project Life layout, and that is to try to get the photos balanced across the page. And you'll see that I have a lot of photos to include, and this is going to be one of my busiest pages in my entire album. And believe it or not, I'm going to try to tone that busyness down by actually adding an insert. Now the type of insert I'm going to use is just an American Crafts page protector that is meant to hold 3 4x6 photos. And I think that as long as I keep it to 4x6 photos, and these are all from the trip, that it'll help tone things down because as you can see, it covers up some of those smaller photos in the broken up pockets and gives you a larger field of something to look at. And no matter which side of the page you're looking at, whether you have it flipped onto the right side or the left side, it's going to cover up some of the busier pockets underneath and just kind of make things a little bit quieter visually. Now I've only chosen 5 photos for this right now. I might go back and add a 6th, I'm not sure yet, or I might just add a journaling card instead. It's going to depend on how much writing I decide to do for these photos because I haven't actually sat down to type out my journaling for the cards yet. But for now, let me go ahead and load the photos in this insert, and then we'll get to work on the rest of the page. So I'm going to start by choosing the colors that I want to pull into this layout. And right away you can see that there's a lot of red and yellow and also aqua, especially in the ocean photos and also in my house because my house has a lot of aqua in it. So I'm going to try to stick to those three colors and maybe a couple of neutrals to help tie things together across this page. Now Doodlebug has this absolutely adorable new line called Take Note Out, and I only have a few pieces of it, but I do love these journaling cards and journaling pads from all of their collections, so I actually picked up all of those. And I just want to flip through them really quickly and show you. This is very, very colorful. What I'm going to do is pull out just the colors that I want to use on my page when I'm making my layout. And let's take a minute and look at the journaling pads from the other three collections they released at CHA. These pretty bright cards are from the Flower Box collection. No, I'm sorry, that was from Fruit Stand. These are from Flower Box. It's a bit more muted. It's got the peaches and the nice spring tones in it. And you can see that a lot of their journaling cards have a horizontal design on one side and the vertical on the other. So you can use these in whatever orientation of pocket that you need to fill. I also have several more pieces of Take Note, but for now I'm going to start with the journaling cards because with so many photos and so much going on, getting the photos and words on this layout is going to take priority over embellishing and making it pretty. In fact, this is not going to be one of the most pretty, beautiful, artsy layouts that I've ever made. But there's a lot going on this page, and so I'm going to be okay if there are one or two or more than that layouts in my Project Life album that aren't especially gorgeous. As I do Project Life on a weekly basis, and so with 52 pages, if one isn't that great, that's fine. So I'm going to take a look at some more journaling cards to include, and I have this great collection here by Chic Tags called Road Trip. And I have to admit that I might be hoarding just a little bit of this because we are planning a major road trip this summer. But I just love all the colors and all the travel themed journaling cards. And even though we were flying for this trip, a lot of these cards apply to any vacation. And I especially love these little clip note tags that are die cut in the middle so that you can split them over a photo or over a piece of pattern paper. This is a really cute way to add some embellishment. But right now I'm going to start with just the journaling cards, and this one has lots of red and aqua, so we're going to go with it. And then I'm going to take a look at some other journaling card options, including two new pads by Pebbles. Now, if you've seen my previous videos, you know I love these Pebbles pads, and they have two new 4x6 pads in the Love You More collection. This one is the more boy themed. I love the deeper colors in this one. I especially love some of the filler cards. But I'm going to choose just this one 4x6 card. I couldn't find a pair of 4x3 cards to fit in this spot, but I'm going to take this 4x6 card and cut it in half and use it to fill those two 3x4 pockets. Next, I'm going to pull the girly version of Love You More, which has a lot of the same phrases and same styles of cards, but just in a more feminine color palette. And this has a really nice spring feeling to it. I especially love those mints and pinks and yellows. And I've actually pulled this one card that you can see below, was half of this page, because of that yellow border. The quote in the middle is probably not something that I would use on a Project Life layout or on a regular layout, but I can overlay it with something like one of these smaller tags. This is not quite a 3x4 from Chic Tags. And so I'm going to flip through these and try to find the one that I want to put in the middle, which I think is actually off to the side. There it is. And just center it up inside that frame so that now I have some aqua, yellow, and red going on there. And then I'm going to use that just as a place to hold my photo. So with all the journaling cards in place, now I can look at some of the prettier parts of this page. And I'm going to start with this Take Note pad from Doodlebug that I'll quickly flip through, although I've used almost half of it already because I've already done another Project Life layout with this. But you can see that a lot of these papers have a nice solid color B-side, and I've already cut several pieces down to size, including aqua, yellow, and red, along with two pieces of gray to use as a neutral. I'm going to start with this red piece in the back and use it to back this small photo collage that I'm making off to the side. And it's just there to kind of hold them together and add a little bit of a colored border, and you can see that it balances out with the red on the top left corner of the opposing page. Next up, I'll go with the colored 3x4 cards in the pockets, and I want to use them to back these two photos that didn't quite come back at the proper size, so they need a bit of a border around them. The yellow is a little too distracting for the inside photos of the inside of the cathedral, but I do like it around the bus photo. And I'm going to use this gray card, and even though it has numbers printed on it, once it's mostly covered by the photo, you barely see the pattern, and it's just there for a little bit of color. But I am going to pick up that other 3x4 gray piece and use it over here, and I think I'm going to add a title and date card in, again, just to give the eye a bit of a place to rest without photos or a lot of writing. And this last set of photos I thought would be best if I just backed them with a piece of 4x6 plain white cardstock. Instead of trying to pull another color in, I'm really trying to keep this as open and neutral as possible that the photos take center stage. And there's just an idea of how it's going to look with the insert in the middle. Now, here's where I had to rein myself in quite a bit. I love all of these embellishments that go with Doodlebug's tape note collection, including this washi tape. I'm a little obsessed with these ombre rainbow dots, but if I tried to use it on this layout, it would be a bit of a disaster. So I'm going to set it to the side. I've already used it in a couple of projects, and you'll see it again. But that and also these other washi tapes that I am really kind of in love with are going to have to wait until another time. And I especially love this red, white, and blue from Stars and Stripes. Definitely going to remember to pull that out for my Independence Day photos. So I'm going to set those to the side along with these really colorful sticker sheets, but you can see I've already been using them on other pages. And instead, go ahead and pull in some embellishments that I've been using on this page already. I love these little circle tags from Chic Tags. Again, these are from the Road Trip collection, and I like using these at the tops of photos and the tops of pockets. You'll see me put it across the top of a photo and then cut the top off flush so that it gives a little bit of movement to the page. And so this little "You Are Here" is going to go right in a bit of dead space at the top of that photo. Now, I'm going to be really minimal with the embellishment on this page, but I do want to add a few things. And items like these tiny ticket tags are also perfect for filling in maybe an empty space on a photo or filling in a title card. And I just wanted to show you a few of the travel motifs and themes on these before getting to the one I chose, which is favorite sites. And this is the only bit of embellishment that I'm going to add to the insert. I've got some extra space in this photo from a snorkeling trip, and this was taken with not the best camera. We have an old waterproof digital camera that if you're right on top of something, it looks great. Otherwise, everything's kind of blurry. So I'm going to cover up, a blurry spot or two and just leave the in-focus fish showing and just adhere that right over the top of the page protector. So now that I know where all my photos and journaling are going to go, I can spend a little bit of time on the embellishment. And the circle embellishment in that photo on the lower right of the left-hand page has inspired me to pull some scrap papers. These are the offcuts from that 6x6 pad when I made the smaller cards, to just punch a couple of circles out of these using an old Martha Stewart Starburst punch. I've had this forever. I think that 2Ps used to carry it, but really you could use any style of 1-inch circle punch or small circle punch for this. And I like to use these spots as a place to maybe back a brad or add just a tiny little bit of something to the middle of a photo collage. And I'm going to put one on the left page and then over on the right page, because whenever I add something to one side, I like to try to balance it with something similar on the other. Now, before I get too far into the embellishment, I want to go ahead and type up my journaling and get these cards filled in so that I make sure I've left enough room for all the words that I want to include before I start adding washi tape and brads and everything over the top of it. So I'm just going to go and run these through my printer and see if maybe I want to fill in that spot with another 4x6 card or not. So the journaling cards are back from the printer now, and I'm just going to fill them in. I love how that 4x6 card splits across the pockets. It makes it look a little bit more uniform over there. And I did decide not to add another journaling card here, so I'm going to just stick another 4x6 photo that I already had printed out in its spot. And I'm okay with not having a lot of this trip documented in the Project Life spread. My husband and I actually wrote in a travel journal every day that we were on the trip, and I'm planning a massive, more than 50-page snap style album with all of our photos and all of that journaling typed up. So I don't have to have it all documented here. I'm just going to hit a few of the highlights and then move on. And you can see that everything is starting to slide around the page, so I'm going to adhere it all down before I start the final embellishment. And we'll start that off with cutting off the top of this little circle tag so it'll be flush to the top of the photo. And then I'm going to move on to the little title card that I have an idea for over on the right-hand side. And for that, I'm going to pull out a set of thickers. These are the Ombre Aqua thickers from Sundrifter, and I love them even though they do not stick to their backing paper very well. But they're just lovely. I've used them on several layouts already. And then these Micro Mono Alphas, the tiny white ones from Basic Gray, that I have to constantly remind myself that there are uppercase alphas at the bottom of the sheet to use them. Otherwise, I'll use up all my lowercase and not know what to do. So I've already spelled out the little quote that I want to use, and I'm just going to make sure it's all centered up. I have it on plastic rulers. Make sure it's all centered up before I adhere it down to this card. And then I'm going to stamp the date on this card using this little Smash date stamp, and also a piece of Prima's chalk ink set. This is the white, and I love that it dries really, really fast. It's a nice opaque white, so if you're looking for a good white stamping ink, I would try this one. And you can see what it looks like against that gray background here in just a second when I stamp it down. All right, now we're going to fill in those little starbursts with a couple of brads, and I've pulled out a set from My Mind's Eye's collectible. I think this is the Notable collection. And I'm going to choose just one brad for each. And since I have red on this side, I'm going to put a mostly aqua brad in the middle of it. And on the other side, I will put a red brad. And you'll see that I'm using the little capped paper piercer from We Are Memory Keepers. Ever since I had an unfortunate incident that ended with me having a 4-inch Making Memories paper piercer sticking out of my calf, I only use the ones that I can put a cap on. I have to admit that was my own silly fault for leaving it in a bad place, but I just feel a lot safer with something that I can put a lid on. So I'll just use it to get those brads in place and then move on to a few more elements. Now, like I said, I'm keeping the embellishment fairly minimal. I don't want to add a whole lot, but these little touches of red and then a few neutral embellishments like these little stars and asterisks from Freckled Fawn add just a little bit of interest without really overdoing it. They, just a little something to look at. And so I've added just a few stars and an arrow to that card. And I'm going to repeat those stars over again on the left-hand page and just put a little cluster of 3 on top of this journaling card from Chic Tags. There are several different sizes of stars, so I'm trying to mix it up with the smaller and larger ones. And there we go. Now, I've also pulled out a roll of gray washi tape. I love using washi to ground small embellishments, but I'm not sure if there's actually a place on here that I want to add anything else. I'm going to try it in a few spots and see, but pretty quickly I'll figure out that this is busy enough, and I think that it's pretty much done now. So here's the finished layout, and your creative challenge this week is to tackle a page, it doesn't have to be Project Life, that maybe you've been procrastinating on because it's a difficult subject or difficult colors, and post it to the gallery, and be sure to check the box for this week's video to be entered to win the monthly drawing for a 2-piece gift certificate. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great weekend.